Today, I'm going to help you by answering some common creative writing questions. And then we're going to go over a cool creative writing technique that I use when it comes to outlining a new story. Welcome to Kauffman Writes. This is my daily creative writing live stream. How do you beat procrastination? Go on social media, whether that's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever, type a creative writing on there, and then go on to one of the accounts who's ever posted recently, reply something creative, whether that's a story, a character, or an idea. You've suddenly beat procrastination. You've written something small. What if you're like, okay, well, that's an easy thing. That's something that you could do in 2 minutes. You could try collabing with other writers or getting involved in writers groups. What if you're like, oh, but you know what? If I'm procrastinating and other writers are procrastinating, we're all just going to get worse together. But because you are all there for the same reason, that you guys all want to create something. But additionally, let's say you're like, all right, well, you know, at social media, that sucks. And I don't want to go out and meet people. Try setting up a consistent schedule. I know, easier said than done. My suggestion, if you're just starting off, do like 15 to 20 minutes, 3 times a week. And then go into your phone right now and set a new reminder that those are the times that you're going to start writing. And then the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And trust me, do it for like 2 to 3 weeks. Work on a free write or work on a story if you already have one, and you will be so happy. Trust me, you'll be able to create something really cool out of it. By the way, if you have any creative writing questions, drop them in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. Question number 2. How do you learn to be a creative writer? Are you practicing on things like grammar? Are you working on understanding like the 3-act structure or different types of storytelling mechanics? Now, that's not saying that you have to use them, but if you're doing a little bit of research, it gives you an idea for the next time you're writing. Are you practicing things like dialogue? Dialogue is a great strategy because you're going to most likely use that in almost any written thing that you're going to put together. And for me, something that's helped with dialogue is go into a coffee shop, listen to conversations. That's real dialogue that then you can leverage to put into your stories. And then you'll restructure it into a different style. So it's a little bit more engaging. Practicing the basics of character building will really help you go farther. Question number 3. Help. I have to write a creative writing assignment for class. Where should I start? What is the last thing that you watched, read, listened to? Cool. All right. Now that you've asked yourself that, think back to what that thing is. It could be a TV show. It could be an influencer. It could be a book. It could be whatever works for you. That is going to be your inspiration for this next project. Now that you have your inspiration, use that as a storytell for whatever you're putting together. So say that you watched like a example. So you watched a social media influencer video. Use whatever the theme was of that video and use that to tell a new story. Or tell a story about an influencer. Or if you watched a TV show, what was the genre? Then that will help you create your next story for class. And once again, if you're watching this on the live stream or the replay and you found any value from our question of the day, from the questions, please like and subscribe this video. So that way you'll be alerted whenever I go live and when I upload new videos. Segment technique of the day. So this is the outline. This is a technique that I love to use whenever I'm working on any type of story, short story, long story, free write, whatever. Step number 1, the thing that I start with is, what is the story? What's the theme? What's the message? What is the tale that you're trying to tell? Write it into 1 sentence. So I'll do this. I'll practice with you. So if I was doing a new story, actually what we were talking about before, let's do a character lost in the jungle has to compete with animals to survive. So once I have my story, step number 2, beginning with an end. I am a huge proponent, huge proponent of building your story around your character. We're going to plot out what is the first thing and what is the last thing that's going to happen to the character in the story. And you always want to make them as extreme stakes as possible. All right, Johnny's going to be our character. Johnny gets shipwrecked out at sea. Never seen that one before, but that's what we're going to go with. Opening moment. Let's go with that. There's so many different names for beats. What is our closing moment? If Johnny gets shipwrecked, and that's going to be the beginning, what would the end story be? The end of the story, the end of Johnny's story. Now, of course, you could take it in so many directions. This comes down to what would be the most extreme thing for Johnny. Either he escapes the island or he chooses to stay on the island and becomes a hero, savior, or a lone wolf of sorts. I think instead of him escaping, because that's been done so many times before, I think it'll actually be more interesting for him to become king of the jungle. All right, this is Johnny becoming king of the jungle. This will be fun. Johnny wins fight with an evil monster or animal and becomes king of the jungle. Now, the story that we want to tell starts with Johnny getting shipwrecked and ends with him becoming king of the jungle. Step Number 3, the plot thickens. What is the middle moment in the story? So if he gets shipwrecked at sea and he becomes king of the jungle, what is like the halfway point in between both of those? Johnny learns the new fighting style of the way of the beast. So now I have the 3 moments in this story. A lot of the times my writing style, I tend to gravitate towards a 3-act structure. There are more structures and styles out there, but that's the general basis for my storytelling. So we have the opening moment, the midpoint, and the closing moment. If you're a new writer just starting out, this is actually a good stopping point for you. Just get started and let's see where your story takes you. Because sometimes you're outlining too much, you can get more into the outline and then you won't actually start writing. I'm going to assume that you've had maybe a little writing experience, so I want to give you what the next step look like. So right now we're going to create what happens between the midpoint and the opening point, which if you're using a 3-act structure, this would technically be the end of Act 1. Johnny nearly gets killed by an animal and must learn to survive in the jungle. So then the moments that will happen in between here is going to be Johnny getting shipwrecked to him trying to survive, him not wanting to deal with the reality of it. And then this is technically going to be end of Act 1. And now what's going to happen between the midpoint and the closing? Johnny learns a new fighting style of the way of the beast between him winning a fight with an evil, we'll say beast. Now, usually this is around the time of the story where they have to learn from the old world combined with what they've learned in this portion to reach here. Or Johnny befriends the animals who can't protect themselves. Therefore, he now gets his alliance. I'm just going to say this is the end of Act 2. And you see, now we have a story. So a little bit so you guys can see the full thing. And that is my secret outlining method. And now after this, you're ready to get started writing. Start at the beginning, or let's say you really, there's like a part of it, one of the points inspired you, start at one of the other points. And that's really like, you can write the story out of order. You don't have to write it in order. It just depends on what your style is and what you prefer. If you found any value from that technique or any of the previous questions, please like and or subscribe this video. And that way you'll be alerted whenever I go live. And when I upload any like additional like live highlight footage, I try to piece together the live streams after. So that way you can see the most important value from what I'm sharing. All right, I'm Kauffman and I'll catch you on the flip side.